I mean, people love playing this sort of a deck. You know, getting to play blue cards anyway is something that people are really looking for in the format, having access to things like Treasure Cruise or Disdainful Stroke. And this deck in particular is the sort of natural evolution, not even natural, it's the correct evolution of the Jeskai aggro decks that used to be good but have trouble competing with Abzan.
As you can see, these players in our top 32 right now, Chuay, the 25th ranked player, and Todd Anderson, our 19th ranked player. Chuay starts off with a Battlefield Forge, Todd with a Flooded Strand, Chuay on the second turn with a Mountain and a Seeker of the Way.
Seeker of the Way has proven to be one of the defining 2-drops of this format. This format, you know, it's full of 3-cost and 4-cost spells that are just very, very powerful. They have such a big impact in the game. There's a real shortage of game-changing 2-drops. People talked about Sylvan Caryatid. Seeker of the Way seems to be Khanza Tarkir's Sylvan Caryatid in terms of 2-drops that are changing the way that people play the game.
Yep. Can give some decks some very aggressive tilt while also keeping its head above water in beatdown matchups. So you see Todd here, the second land, and a Battle-Wise Hoplet.
One of the most common plays with Seeker of the Way is to play it into somebody else who's going to play a creature. Then whatever you do to remove their creature powers up your Seeker of the Way, and your attack is basically you're like drawing an extra card in some regards because you just gained so much life that it's going to often take a card to undo the life you drained from your opponent.
And you see exactly that here, Chuay with a third turn Lightning Strike taking care of the Hoplet, and a Mystic Monastery to follow up post-combat. Todd with a third land, just passing the turn, representing a hand with no creatures.
Remember, every time your Seeker of the Way hits somebody, it's like a Siege Rhino. Every time that you kill their creature, it's like getting another Siege Rhino activation, and that's just huge for these Jeskai decks.
You see a Rabble Master here from Chuay, sensing Todd, his blue-white deck, not much in the way of killing creatures, a good spot to stick a Rabble Master.
Yeah, I mean, this is a real tough matchup for Todd Anderson anyway, but having a creature light draw with just, you know, one creature to be able to put all his enchantments on, he's definitely in real bad shape this game.
And it is a vulnerability of these blue-white heroic decks. You need to have a creature to get anything started, and when your opponent is flush with Magma Jets and Lightning Strikes, get a little hard to get the ball rolling. Yeah, I mean, this is a real tough matchup for blue-white heroic anyway. The reason to play these blue-white heroic decks is because you like the green matchup. The red matchups are never what you want to face. The difference between 1 and 2 mana removal spells like Chain of the Rocks, Lightning Strike versus Heroes Downfalls and so forth when you're trying to protect your creatures with God Willing, it's a huge difference. Oh, absolutely. Plus, some of the Jeskai cards like Goblin Rabblemaster, Seeker of the Way, and Jeskai Ascendancy are so devastating if you can't get rid of them. And these blue-white heroic decks play next to nothing in the way of defense. So you see Chuay here showing a Stoke, which would allow him to Stoke the Flames Todd, untap all of his creatures, attack for a bazillion. Todd, with nothing going on, going to give it up and move on to the second game. So you mentioned this is a tough matchup for Blue-White Heroic, the cheap removal spells, the fast clock. It's not what Blue-White Heroic wants to play against. What does Todd have in his sideboard to help prepare this? So he actually, to begin with, he's got cards like Ajani's Presence and I guess Ajani's Presence in particular is supposed to help him against the some of the removal spells that Yim would have access to. But Stubborn Denial is also an option for countering things like End Hostilities that he might suspect are coming in. Additionally, he has access to Glare of Heresy to be able to hit Seeker of the Way or Jeskai Ascendancy, and Treasure Cruise in case he wants to try to slow things down a little bit. So a lot of different options here, like the things that protect his creatures, and if he suspects the game's going to go long, he has some kind of anti-control elements like Stubborn Denial and Treasure Cruise. On Chuay's side of the table, 4 Disdainful Strokes, a Glare of Heresy, 2 End Hostilities, 3 Arrays, 2 Elspeth Sun's Champion, 2 copies of Anger of the Gods, and 1 Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker. Now we see Jeskai tokens often convert into kind of a control deck post-board in certain matchups. Do you anticipate this being one of those matchups? Definitely. End Hostilities is absolutely excellent here. Anger of the Gods is great. Having the defensive cards against Blue-White Heroic just it cripples the main thing they have, which is building one big Titan, one big you know, creature that they put all their eggs into one basket with. Besides, I think that even if Todd tries to slow down a little bit, remove some of his auras, and put in a few more reactive cards, it's going to be real hard to beat Chuay at his own game. For sure. So we'll see how that shakes out. While these players are wrapping up the sideboarding here, Star City Games proud to offer the newest addition to the Patrick Chapin Literary Collection, the update to Next Level Magic.
Yeah, Next Level Magic, the 2015 edition is updated, kind of just making sure that the examples are the most up-to-date cards, plus new information based on the goings-ons in the recent history for Magic. And basically being back in paperback for the first time in a little while with new graphic design, new layout. Super proud of how it turned out.
And you've mentioned the paperback build of this book has been out of print for a very long time. So for people who are looking for the paperback version, this is their chance to actually get not only a copy, but a fully updated copy.
Yeah, we were overwhelmed. I mean, we did a fairly large print run before, but we were never expecting the sort of response that we got. It was just overwhelming, and we managed to, or we've finally got together the new 2015 edition, so that's back in stock. A number of people had the ebook and wanted to actually have the paperback on their shelf, and now we have it.
So again, paperback and ebook now available. Head over to starcitygames.com/NLM for more information. Order your copy now.
Dude, you got a great voice for that.
For what?
Order your copy now.
Thanks, man.
Dude, I'm telling you. Have you considered doing like
commentary? I'm doing it now.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, dude, you would be great at commentary.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I'm, throwing my hat in the ring, trying my best. Todd here on the left, a player who was in the hunt for the Players' Championship, flew to an Open Series in Minneapolis, looked like he was on the cusp of making a run, but wrote an article for Star City Games a few weeks back on the premium side saying that he was a little burned out with all the play and the travel, decided to shut it down for a few weeks, and now is looking at an invitational win here if he wants to make the Players' Championship next week in Roanoke.
Yeah, I mean, Todd has definitely gone hard at different times, and I understand completely. Sometimes you got to take a break a little bit, chill out a little, because it's awesome playing in all these Magic tournaments, but sometimes life on the road can get a little bit grueling. It depends when you feel like you're into it versus when you want to just kind of rest a little bit. The thing about Magic is there's never really an off season.
For sure. Especially challenging for Todd, who is, married, I'm sure enjoys spending time at home with Callie Anderson, one of our great event coordinators here over Star City Games.
Callie is gas. She's great.
Yeah, she is great.
So it looks like we're going to have a speculative keep from Todd Anderson.
Todd is a man who is loath to mulligan.
Are we talking like Gerard Fabiano level of loathing?
No, Gerard does it just to feel something. Todd just keeps kind of speculative hands here as he starts off with an opening hand with just a plains, a favorite hoplite, no second land, casts a Defiant Strike here on turn number 2, trying to find the land, fails to do so, and will simply pass the turn back to Chuay, who had a turn 1 Temple of Triumph. Now we'll see if he can punish Todd for this keep.
I was going to say, as long as he doesn't remove the favorite hoplite, it's actually not that bad for Todd yet.
Well, that's the thing. Chuay's deck, all red removal, so once a creature's toughness gets to a certain point, it's relatively safe. There are Jeskai Charms, but...
Yeah, I mean, he has access to just a single Glare of Heresy, right, in terms of hard removal?
Correct.
And to a degree, Jeskai Charm?
And
no Chain to the Rocks or Banishing Light?
Jeskai Charm has been cut from his list. There are 0 copies.
Oh, wow.
So if this gets up to 4 toughness, it's just good to go. You see another Defiant Strike here from Todd.
These are some pretty good beats for not having any land.
That's what this heroic deck can do.
And it looks like Chuay missing 2 land drops as well, which is much worse when you're looking down the barrel of a 3/4 favorite hoplite.
He's had nothing but comes into play tap lands thus far, and a hand with Mamajet not in a position to fight over this hoplite.
So Todd now having to decide how much to invest in this. What can go wrong if he plays his Ordeal of Thassa here?
Much of the same stuff that could go wrong anyway, which is Chuay untaps, has some sort of Banishing Light effect, a Jeskai Charm, and Todd's set pretty far back.
How big of a concern is something like Hordling Outburst for producing extra blockers?
I think that's on Todd's radar, but this deck's pretty good at slogging through individual blockers over time. And now Todd's hand is so flush with action that, time may be on his side at this point if he gets an opportunity to draw out of this. You see Todd with the Ordeal of Thassa, triggers heroic, attacks, and Chuay with a Raise the Alarm.
Yeah, he needs to just prevent some of the damage here. Todd Anderson flush with cards now at this point.
Yeah, actually discarding a land 2 hand size, getting rid of a Tranquil Cove. So Chuay now way behind, takes his draw step. You got to feel like he can't really be comfortable with the idea of Todd untapping with his hoplite in play.
Quite the gamble moving away from Jeskai Charm entirely. What did he get as a benefit? It looks like a Magma Jet and perhaps an extra land.
Yeah. Respectable choices. I can understand wanting to make your land drops, keep the curve a little bit lower, but spots like this, Chuay's build does not have a lot of ways to get out. He does have his sideboard and hostilities, assuming he brought those in.
So now it looks like we are going to see that Hordling Outburst, which it's actually kind of important that he has access to both red and white tokens, making it more difficult for something like God's Willing to punch through damage. What he is vulnerable to, however, is Stratus Walk or Aqueous Form.
Or just not being able to get enough action going here. That's a concern too.
So Todd now with an embarrassment of riches. He's got plenty of tricks, plenty of ways to pump, plenty of ways to protect his guy.
And you see God's Willing in Todd's hand, and I suspect that he is not going to drop the shields on that card for the rest of the game if he can avoid it.
Yeah, at this point, he just wants to try to nurse the advantage he already has. He sees that Chuay Yim is missing land drops, and this isn't actually a great deck for being able to come from behind against a massive creature.
We saw in the finals of Portland last week, Brad Nelson playing this deck, and an opponent who just went turn 2 Caryatid, turn 3 Siege Rhino, turn 4 Siege Rhino. Game was over before it even got started. Not very good at playing from behind. Let's see here, Chuay looking at his Seeker away, trying to find some way to get out of this hole he has dug himself into.
So what is your take on this blue-white heroic deck?
I think it's very good against green. I think the worst matchup that it has is Mardu, and if Mardu's low in representation, it's a good choice. Chuay just
Crackling Doom, such a nightmare.
And just Chain of the Rocks plus Lightning Strike there, plus Murderous Cuts out of the board. There's so many 1 and 2 mana removal spells, and you got to overwhelm the heroic deck in one turn. It's not enough to have downfalls because Feat of Resistance and God's Willing are so efficient at answering that card.
And it looks like Todd is now in that driver's seat spot where he's got 1 mana ways to protect his guys. So things are just going to start to snowball if Chuay Yim can't get something going here.
And it's going to be tough to do because, again, Chuay, without having access to, cards like Jeskai Charm, really short on ways of handling a large creature.
Yeah, just a single Glare of Heresy in terms of cheap removal.
So you're going to see Chuay here go for a Stoke the Flames on the Hoplet. And we'll see, does Todd care enough about this enough to protect it? And it looks like the answer is yes, and you see in Ajani's presence. Scry goes to the bottom off the Hoplite trigger. And here comes an attack.
And that was a Glare of Heresy on the Seeker, leaving Chuay Yim without much in the way of permanents that can actually do anything for him.
Just looking at some tokens and some lands.
What a fight. I mean, you got to remember, Todd Anderson missing his land drop on turn 2 and 3. Never gave up.
Well, Blue-White Heroic does have some elements of a legacy deck list to it where it can run off of very little mana. Does not need buffs to function. Let's see. A chump block there from Chuay as he enters his turn.
Now, he does have a chance to do something to Todd Anderson's creatures where Todd can't protect them. Is this going to be, if not the favorite Hoplite, at least the Battle-Wise Hoplite?
If Chuay has an ability to kill the Battle-Wise Hoplite, and it does with a Lightning Strike, he has to take it this turn because you just can't let this heroic deck untap. People get fancy with their instants sometimes, but this is not that kind of matchup.
Chuay Yim leaving both colors of tokens back, playing around God's Willing very wisely.
You see a chump block again from Chuay on the favorite Hoplite. Todd with a post-combat Battle-Wise Hoplet. And Chuay taking this opportunity to crack Flood Strand. In a turn here, we'll see Raise the Alarm from Chuay.
Now, he can't keep this up forever, though. I mean, he's buying himself some time, but he's got to either get a Treasure Cruise going or an Elspeth or an Ascendancy, something. He needs something else.
Needs forward progress. He cannot be defending himself the whole time here.
Yeah, he's just treading water at the moment.
But Chuay separating out his graveyard there. He might be looking at Treasure Cruise.
Well, that's the best thing he could do to get back in this.
Secret away and a passing of the turn.
Looks like he doesn't quite have it yet.
Looks like he's sitting on a Magma Jet here. Another attack from Todd.
I like this block because now if Todd does something to try to protect the Battlewise Hoplite, then Chuay Yim can strike with the Magma Jet.
It is an opportunity for him to force Todd to have 2 spells. Todd, on the other hand, always has the option of saying, all right, combat looks good, and put the ball in Chuay's court. See, Todd's going to move first here with a God's Willing. And Chuay contemplating a response here. Looks like God's Willing is good to go. Todd Scry is looking at Ordeal of Thassa. Going to leave that on top.
It's interesting. Chuay Yim deciding not to fight over the Battlewise Hoplite.
Just letting the blocks go. Another copy of Raise the Alarm in a turn.
Yeah, he really needs to Treasure Cruise ASAP.
Stoke the Flames, the draw. And here comes Treasure Cruise. How do you feel about drawing 3 cards for a mana?
It's a good time.
Good time for at least one person.
Yeah, kind of a questionable card to exist, but I mean, while we're there, might as well cast it.
Right, and now we see an Ascendancy here from Chuay. As you mentioned, now starting to make a little bit of forward progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he can untap with any kind of a board here, at least he's got something going for him. He's still a little bit behind, but at least Todd is starting to run low on resources.
Todd gonna take an untap.
Ordeal of Thassa, a great draw here. Yeah, that's the perfect thing for Todd.
Got to leave it on top of his deck last turn, and as you mentioned before, you know, it's very important for Chuay to have a diversity of color blockers here. Were he just all on white or red blockers, very likely Todd can win the game this turn, but instead, Chuay may get an opportunity to untap with Ascendancy.
Yeah, the Ordeal of Thassa, at the very least, though, is giving Todd 2 massive threats instead of just 1, and is going to restock Todd's hand. He was starting to run a little bit low on ways to protect his big threats.
So you see Todd here diversifying a little bit, putting it on the Battlewise Hoplite. That will trigger the Ordeal. Todd looking at 2 fresh cards. Chuay again, 2 more chump blocks. But Ascendancy's online, and Chuay has a bit of a board.
Chuay Yim getting to untap with Jeskai Ascendancy. Every Magic player's dream.
Todd with a post-combat favorite Hoplite, but now Chuay's got an opportunity to really push forward for the first time in Game 2.
Yeah, I mean, he's had his back against the wall this whole game, despite Todd missing land drops. But he's bought himself a lot of breathing room. You know, the Raise the Alarm and Hordeling Outburst to give him chump blockers, and Treasure Cruise to help make up for spending so many cards chump blocking.
It's crazy because it feels like Chuay has done nothing but chump block the whole game, and somehow the resources feel like parity or even possibly Chuay being slightly ahead.
Yeah, drawing 3 cards for 1 mana goes a long way, and the tokens here have effectively prevented 50 damage, 40 damage in terms of chump blocks.
So Chuay making a move here. He's going to go for a Magma Jet on the favorite Hoplite, triggers his Ascendancy. See, Todd has a response here. God's Willing.
In particular, important as an answer to Magma Jet because of it getting to stop the Scry too.
Chuay still gets his Ascendancy trigger, but the rest of the jet does not resolve. Chuay following up with Hordeling Outburst, another Ascendancy trigger. And I think the last card in his hand is Treasure Cruise. He may get an opportunity to block again.
That's one of the things this Jeskai Tokens deck does so well. When it has Jeskai Ascendancy, it's not just that its creatures sometimes become huge. It loots so fast. His graveyard, look, it's full again. He just Treasure Cruise last turn, and now his graveyard is full, so that next turn he'll be able to Treasure Cruise for a single mana.
Pretty crazy. When Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time got previewed, I think a lot of people thought we would see that kind of play pattern in Modern and Legacy, where it's really easy to fill up your graveyard. To see it here in Standard is very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking like Chuay Yim is really rolling here on the backs of these Treasure Cruises and the Ascendancy, giving him the fuel he needs.
Although Chuay making an attack here with his White Soldier token, this puts him at only red blockers. See if Todd has some way to capitalize on this.
Yeah, it's a very aggressive attack, but it looks like Todd has nothing for it.
So, Todd, first order of business, untap and send everything in. Chuay trying to chump block to stay alive, but leave himself with enough of a board where Ascendancy can do some work next turn.
Yeah, you got to remember, it's not even clear that Chuay Yim isn't going to win next turn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 3 attackers that if he casts 4 spells, will do 12 damage. So if one of those 4 spells is a Stoke the Flames, he wins this turn.
So Todd just with a land and another Battlewise Hoplet post-combat. Chuay getting on tap again. And it looks like we're starting off the action here with another copy of Treasure Cruise.
Yeah, this is big. I mean, this is exactly what Chuay Yim needs.
So he's going to loot first order of business, resolving the Ascendancy trigger. Creatures are now 2/2. Gets to draw 3 cards again. Finds what appears to be 2 lands and a Glare of Heresy on top of the Lightning Strike that he drew off the loot.
He's got a couple defensive cards. How much is he actually going to try to control the board here? Because like removing the untapped creature would give him a better chance of actually winning this turn, but it looks like he's hedging his bets and going after the biggest threat.
He might feel like he's sensing that Todd's hand's a little low on action, and with this Ascendancy in play unchecked, that he might have an edge even if he has to continue to chump block for a while. So creatures are now 3/3s.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine this game going very much longer because Chuay Yim is getting to this critical mass spot where he's going to eventually just overwhelm Todd with massive attackers.
Someone's going to die soon.
Yes.
One way or the other. See Chuay now with his 3/3 tokens moving into combat. Remember, if he has another spell here, gets an opportunity to untap and block.
Now, it looks like it's a gutsy attack, but remember, Jeskai Ascendancy will let him untap and have access to all of his attackers as blockers again.
Assuming that he has a spell here, it's a freebie.
Yeah, absolutely. And Todd knows this. Todd knows that there's no way that Chuay Yim would be doing this unless he had another spell to follow up.
Yeah, because Todd's in a position where his hand's forced. He's just going to untap and attack again next turn and see what Chuay has.
Absolutely. And Todd doesn't, love the idea of having to block here, but at the same time, he doesn't want to just get blown out. He doesn't want to just, take all this damage if he doesn't need to.
It's not even inconceivable for him to die in the spot.
The token's up to how big right now? 3/3s? Yeah, I mean, if Chuay Yim has Lightning Strike, that alone puts Todd at 1 life.
Yep. So here another hedge here from Chuay. He's going to go ahead and Lightning Strike the Hoplet, which allows him to loot, deal a bunch of damage, and still protect himself a lot on the way back. But Todd has another copy of Ajani's Presence.
Wow, this is big. The Lightning Strike on the Battlewise Hopwhite falling apart means that Chuay Yim is going to be looking at a lot of dangerous threats on Todd's turn.
So now we'll see. Can Todd generate 3 lethal attackers? Chuay's shields are down.
Yeah, but Todd's out of cards.
He did leave on top. I think it might have been Ordeal of Thassa, which gives him a shot to win this turn. Assuming Chuay does not block with everything.
Ordeal of Thassa would be huge on either particularly on the Battlewise Hopwhite.
So Chuay's going to send it back. Todd at 4, Chuay at 6.
This one is down to the wire. And it is Ordeal of Thassa.
He's going to put it on the favorite hoplite. Again, this I believe is an effort to make everything lethal if he can help it. Ordeal's going to trigger. That's 2 cards. No spells to be found there. Just Hero of Iroas and a land.
Yeah, what do you think? That's an interesting decision, choosing to go with the favorite Hoplite instead of the Battlewise Hoplite. always really losing is a scry, but he does diversify his threats a little bit.
Is there something that would allow him to put all of his attackers at lethal depending on what he drew? I don't believe so.
I think it's the same either way, though, because the Battle-Wise hop weight and the favorite hop weight were the same size and would grow at the same rate. I think this is just a question of wanting to protect his, spread out his risk a little bit in case Chuay Yim can deal with some of Todd's action next turn.
So it looks like Chuay here, definitely blocking 2. Going to let that hoplite come through for 3 points of damage, risking some running Defying Strike type draws. Todd with just the Hero of Iroas post-combat.
So he does leave with the Hero of Iroas despite end hostilities. Oh.
And there is the draw.
See, I guess it's super easy to say it now, but I feel like once you're this ahead on board, so Todd has to pick up his entire side of the board. Oh, wow, what a follow-up.
And Chuay does not bother looting, just puts the Seeker away into play. And Stubborn Denial, a turn too late here for Todd.
Ah, God, would have been nice to scry one there.
Chuay attacks down to 2. Glare of Heresy off the top, that's going to stave off death for a turn here for Todd. But Treasure Cruise, the draw for Chuay.
Oh, yeah, this is all falling apart.
As you often said about Sphinx's Revelation, it's the third one that kills you, assuming that the first or second one didn't.
Yeah.
And a couple burn spells here from Chuay. There's a Lightning Strike. That's going to do it. Chuay Yim, 2-0 over Todd Anderson. A very impressive second game here with Jeskai tokens.
Yep. That's exactly blue-white heroic, what they don't want to see. They don't want to see a bunch of cheap removal, a bunch of chump blockers for the big threats, and treasure cruises cleaning it up.
That was a fascinating second game, too, because it looked like Chuay was on the back foot the whole time. Just trying to navigate long enough to get Jeskai Ascendancy into play and resolve a treasure cruise. That looked like the whole game plan there. And once he was able to get that online, it really didn't matter